possible petrified wood dinosaur carving example from a steep house-like roof on a barge-like hull, Noah's Ark, by Ronald Stewart. Copyright Ronald Stewart, 2003 to 2018, all rights reserved. Next, what we're going to do is do a condition is what is known as bulky. Some cameras have the capability of eliminating the background, as we see here, or blurring it out. And here, within the small little round circle, is the particular or specific animal carving that's made of petrified wood now, 4,400 years later, approximately. And we're going to take a look at that and study it from several perspectives, scientific as well, simple and also more complex. Now, we keep going back and forth in order to show where approximately it's at, where the yellow arrow points to right now. And we're going to also zoom in on that. Next, we're going to zoom in real slowly to this animal stall right here that we just took a look at. Right there. Alright? Now, the point is that next, besides this, we're going to zoom into the same area again, but here with another photograph, same one, but we're going to zoom in real slow, and what we're going to do is we show the area here where the animal stalls are located, yet this time, instead of blurring out the background, either blurring it out or eliminating it altogether and having it black, which is bulky as well, right there we have encircled it in that oval red outline to show that this is a possible, alleged carving of what resembles some type of reptilian or maybe even dinosaur-like animal, allegedly. We continue to zoom into that slowly to show what it looks like. Then, after we look at it there, we have used bulky again to eliminate the background around it. Right there we see the natural background and the outline to show it's the same thing. Now we use bulky again and outline it here. And then the goal is to zoom into the black area right here around this possible animal carving, right there where we see the small hand outline the rectangular area, that we're going to obtain higher and higher resolution images of that area, and then we're going to take a look at it and see if even on a minimal scale it meets what could be considered petrified. Now here we're increasing our focus and resolution. We're going to obtain the highest possible maximum resolution and focus possible on this image, a little bit at a time. Alright, now here it's becoming more and more clear as to what it is. Now, for some simple science to help verify the first alleged petrified wood animal carving, that it has perforations, pits, and radial splits or tears in it. That this possible alleged animal carving is petrified. Did you know that over 357 years ago that a peer-reviewed paper was published in a prominent peer-reviewed journal about Noah's Ark? Yes, 357 years ago, The Boudreau brothers were two French scientists who made a trip to the site where we have been, and what they examined was petrified wood that had perforations in it, holes and pits, and also radial tears. And they published this in the Royal Society Publishing in 1657. The name of their book was also entitled The Voyages and Adventures of Adventures, and it was published as a peer-reviewed paper and as aforementioned as a book. 1 and 2 are the Boudreau brothers from a picture from this book walking up an incline toward Noah's Ark, which was like a land bridge or a gradually sloping incline that went up to the Ark, and likely was destroyed in the 1840 earthquake and limited volcanic explosion. 3 is the Ark, but it's also shown in 4 and enlarged where the yellow arrow points to as well. They also published a figure 1 and 2 which show perforations in the Ark petrified wood, and the tears, the radial tears that were in the petrified wood as well. Again, approximately 8 years later, another peer-reviewed paper was published that verifies this and backs this up as well. However, just 7 years later, in 1665, again in the Royal Society Publishing, this peer-reviewed paper was published entitled Micrographia, or Some Physiological Descriptions of Minute Bodies Made by Magnifying Glasses, with observations and inquiries thereupon, by R. Cook, Fellow of the Royal Society of Publishing. And the figures that appeared in that paper were as shown. This almost identical same image seen in Figure 1 and Figure 2 first also appeared in the Boudreau brothers' paper in 1657 AD CE. On top, Figure 1 looks a lot like stone-like in appearance and is petrified wood, and is further explained below in Figure 2. However, the objective and goal was to go to Noah's Ark in 1657 with the Boudreau brothers, and they were to look at the petrified wood, and the question was, did it have perforations, holes, radial tears, and pits in it? As we see here that this image verifies from the second paper from 1665 AD CE as well. We're going to zoom into this and take a closer look. First, we zoom in to figure number 1 on top. We can see as we zoom in that the gray area is stone-like in appearance, because this was and is from and scientifically looked at the time as a piece of petrified wood. We see the perforations, holes, and also possible tears. For example, at the top, in the middle, it looks like there's a tear there, elongated, longitudinal. And we also see the pits as well, and holes. Next, what we see here, as we zoom in to the Micrographia 1657 and 1665 figure number 1 to the left, we can see that there are many perforations and also radial tears. As we zoom in here, we can also see the same thing on this alleged possible dinosaur-like carving that may be petrified as well. We're going to take a look at both the illustration figure 1 on the left and here also show where radial splits occur in all perforations and pits also on the petrified dinosaur-like carving to the right, where both the small arrow points upward to a radial split and also pointed to another radial split seen in the micrographia paper right there where the long arrow points to, right there on the edge as well. Therefore, this old science paper from both 1657, the Boudreau brothers, and also micrographia verifies these pits, perforations, and radial tears or splits. Next though, here we're going to consider the bottom perforations where we see another radial split as well, and we're going to zoom into that. In figure number 2, we see two radial tears, one at the very bottom which is dark among the perforations and pits, and a second one which is a lighter gray color above it. This also verifies the same thing in what we see in the possible alleged animal carving that's petrified. Here in the bibliographical references we have both simple and also complex bibliographical references that verify one another, and also what we see in the alleged possible petrified animal carving that we are studying at this moment. May we recommend that if you want to read this in detail, please stop the video and then watch the next several areas, and we will then you'll have time to read these biblical references in detail that will help scientifically support the fact is what we see inside the alleged possible petrified animal carving that we are now studying. In addition to this, we also have here two different forms of scientific instrumentation and technology that were used to help study these animal carvings, beams of wood, etc., that we found in the object which may possibly be the remains of Noah's Ark today on Greater Mount Ararat. The first one is what we used in number 1, but also we recommend that you stop the video and read this information as well. We now continue to explain more about this possible first example of this alleged petrified animal carving that we are now examining and studying in detail more as follows. There will be no audio for at least the next couple of moments as you read this information. Please read this, and then after you do, the rest of the video will explain more about this possible petrified animal carving in possible remains of Noah's Ark today. The previous aforementioned technology was used. Here we see the color spectrum bring out the different kinds of minerals that have absorbed into the petrified wood as we see here. Now, when we compare this with a color chart, we can see that the colors that are in the color chart are the same colors of petrified wood as we see in this first possible petrified animal carving that is a picture writing symbol to convey to future generations about this type of animal was possibly in the ark. We also consider that this animal may have been in the ark for quite a while. The next area that we're going to consider after now looking at the petrification and the color coding here on this chart is the possible archaeological application of this animal carving in like manner as follows. Next, we're going to study this particular petrified animal carving from a biblical archaeological perspective. We're going to take a look at the side view here, and we're going to look at the different anatomical parts. Now, the white area that we see here is ice and snow that has accumulated and had not yet melted back on this particular petrified animal carving. The ice and snow is where the arrows point to, right now. There's the top of the head as this profile of this animal is looking as though to our right. And the next anatomical feature that we're going to look at would be the snout. There, 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 and there. Okay. The snout. And then, I'm going to take a look at the next area on the snout, which would be the nostril. Right there. That was carved out as well. Right there, the nostril. You also have to ask that if these animals were not alive at the time of the flood, global flood, and artisans, how could they have carved them if they didn't know what they looked like and if they didn't see them? The very fact that this dates back to the pictorial times when picture writing was evident on the earth dates it right around the time of Noah. So from an archaeological science and art, it also gives evidence that this wood is approximately between 4,300 and 4,400 years old at least, because of the fact is that it dates back to pictorial writing. Next, we take a look at the eye. Right there. The eye. Now, we're going to zoom in to the eye and get a closer look at that right now. As we get closer and zoom into the eye, right there where the red pointer is pointing to right now, we want to take a look at it closely, and as we can see as we get closer and closer, it has a glass-like appearance. In order to possibly and allegedly make this now petrified animal carving lifelike when looked at from far away or and even up close as well, as we see here. But now we're going to take a look at some other anatomical parts as well. Now, next, the anatomical part would be the open mouth. as we see here. There and there, the back and the front. The open mouth. Next, the teeth. On top, first, there, and then also we reiterate and reemphasize and do it again and show the teeth on the bottom jaw inside the open mouth. There, there, and there as well. Right there. The next anatomical feature that we're going to take a look at on this particular pictorial picture writing animal carving representation that's dinosaur-like in appearance is the bottom jaw, as we see here. The next anatomical physiological feature and characteristic that we take a look at would be the neck. The neck. Top, middle, and bottom. Where the 3 pointers point to right now. Top, middle, and bottom. Then the last anatomical feature we'll consider in this video, before we go to part number 4, will be the upper torso, as we see here as well. Right there. In conclusion, we zoom in slowly to the top, upper neck, head, and face of this possible alleged dinosaur-like animal carving from possibly, allegedly, the remains of Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat today. Archaeologically, which this animal is only one of maybe many hundreds or thousands that conveys and communicates to the past and today that this was one of the animals that may have been in Noah's Ark. It is a pictorial, picture writing representation telling the story about Noah. Thank you for watching. We will now go to part number 4.